we are challenging the, this is because the government has hastily prepared this draft amendment bill, and it has piloted, in a such a manner that it looks like they are actually, not addressing the reservation issue, but it is they are actually addressing their election defeat in 3 states. It doesn't look like it is a kind of ameliorative step for the economically backward people for whom they are doing it. So we are actually, this is basically a desperate step taken under duress to actually amend their past mistakes which they have, because they have abandoned the general category people. They have brought SC/ST Act and they have gone awry, and that is why they have faced the electoral debacle. So basically we are, our petition is just to correct the system, that is that you cannot go beyond 50%. That means if you are giving 10% reservation, that means you are actually taking 10% from the 50% pie which is unadded, which is available to the unreserved people. So basically you are not giving 10% to the economically backward people, you are taking 10% away from the general category people. That is our first prayer. The second is economic criteria is a, it cannot be limited to 10% only. It should be the basis of the entire reservation system. First of all, there should not be any reservation. So if at all there is some group who needed it, then we believe that it should be not confined to only 10%. All the people who are who need reservations, they must be brought under the economic category. The third thing is, now how to identify the 10%. For example, I am having a house of 20 crore rupees, but if I am not earning 8 lakhs rupees, then I am coming under the reservation quota of 10%. So there are anomalies. And finally, unaided educational institutions also included in this bill, which is patently wrong. These are the 4 broad criteria which we are challenging. The government has done wrong. That is why we approach the Supreme Court.
Okay, in your answer, you said something, and I want to take you back to that assertion that you made, that there should be no reservation. What do you mean by that?
Basically, when the Constituent Assembly, they debated at length that whether to have reservation at all or not. If at all, how long? And if for a certain duration of time, in what form and how to go ahead with it. So it was agreed that there should be only a 10 years of reservation. They are not beyond the 10 years. So when Constituent Assembly, including all the stalwart, our founding fathers, they envisioned, they didn't wanted it for perpetuity. Otherwise, they should not have tell it only for 10 years. The situation was dire in 1946-47 when Constituent Assembly debate was going on. So during that time, those founding fathers, they thought that we need only for 10 years, not beyond 10 years. So there should not be any reservation after 10 years. Okay, there are some wrong and we try to amend it. So after 10 years, the 22% or initially 16%, whatever may be the quota, that should be reduced to 0. So that was the expression of the Constituent Assembly. So there should not be any reservation. Now it has been a political pot boiler and everybody wanted to gain out of reservation, and Prime Minister Nehru himself has written to all the chief ministers in 1960s that this way lie not only folly but danger. So we are basically approaching danger. Every now and then people, political party are make it as a mockery of democracy. So there should not be any reservation. It is not my expression. It is the expression of the Constituent Assembly, which is the basis of the Constitution. So Constitution doesn't ask reservation in perpetuity.
Constitution does not ask for reservation in perpetuity. Well, that's an interesting point to debate on. Let me open up the debate. I want to begin with you, Dr. Subhash Kashyap, because I wanted to establish the petitioners' grounds and why they have filed this writ petition, and we believe that it is likely as per the organization concerned, that a mentioning opportunity is likely to happen as early as Friday tomorrow. But Dr. Kashyap, on the broader questions that this raises, you would have heard the criticism, yourself read it. What are the chances of this law withstanding judicial scrutiny, sir?
The first thing, in my humble opinion, to be remembered is that, to the best of my knowledge, it has not yet become part of the Constitution. The legislative process is still not complete. So long as the President has not given his assent, the Constitution does not stand amended. And the organization which has gone to the court, I was just hearing, they said it was hastily drafted. I think the petition is also very hasty. Unless it becomes part of the Constitution, unless it becomes a complete fact, I don't think the stage for going to the court arises.
Dr. Kashyap, that's a very important point, and I had also pointed out in my discussions earlier with the organization that the petition says 103rd Amendment, whereas it is the 124th Amendment, and that news, in fact, viewers, might have confused many of you. When this news earlier broke, there were some questions on it. Dr. Kashyap, one more question. And you are absolutely right in pointing out that until presidential assent comes, it is perhaps wrong even on my behalf to call it a law, and I stand corrected to that extent, sir. But do you think that the 10% quota, the argument that is being made by several people, it is eating away from the remaining 50% quota, because government sources are saying that it is not eating away, there will be an expansion, for instance, of academic reservation also?
Well, first I will try to clear the confusion with regard to 124th Amendment Bill. You see, as the media carries the number of the bill, not the number of the act, it is still a bill, and it is 124th bill. When it becomes law, then the number will be different, and then that will be the number of the Amendment Act. So that is the confusion between the number of the bill and the number of the act. As for the justification for 10%, I think the position has been made very clear on the floor of the House that it will not cut into the existing reservations, and that it will be additional 10%.
It will be additional 10%. Let me take up one more legal point of view before I go to the rest of the panelists. This is a question for Anup George Chaudhary. What do you think the Supreme Court's view on this writ petition will be? Will it be admitted pending presidential nod? What is likely? How is it likely to pan out in Supreme Court? This petition and perhaps several others that may be filed.
You know, I agree with Mr. Kashyap, because this seems to be a premature petition. And I give you an example. When the reorganization of the state of Telangana took place, we had filed a petition saying that it violates the article under which it has been sent to the President, and there should have been a proper procedure followed. And the court said it's still not become law, so it's still premature, and they dismissed our petition at that stage. Therefore, at this stage, when there is nothing, there is no law, no constitutional amendment as such, what are you challenging the constitutional amendment for? But let's not speculate on whether the court will dismiss it or not. In my experience of more than 52 years at the bar, I found strange things happening, and the court is even otherwise free to issue a notice. We can't curtail that power, but normally it would not, because I would feel that this is a premature petition.
Before I go across to the other guests, I have to take that question to Shivam Pathak, a member of the core team of Youth for Equality. Noted experts here on the show, Shivam, are saying that this is a premature petition. What do you say to that?
No, this is not a premature allegations being put up on the parties or the rulers who are ruling our country. But I would like to say that as far as reservation is concerned, our perspective is that reservation should be on the basis of, our constitution should provide reservation on the basis of economic condition, not on the basis of caste. This is because this caste-based reservation is dividing the nation on the basis of caste. Let me give you one example. When in 1950, when our constitution came into being, there were around 500 castes within our country. These castes increased in 1979, and the numbers are around 3,500. And as far as today it is concerned, so it is around 7,500 castes we are having within our country. So this is a political game which these political parties are playing at this point of time on the basis of caste, on the basis of religion. They are dividing the nation. But we, Youth for Equality, are trying that stop this division amongst the people of our country, and we want that reservation should be provided on the basis of economic condition, not on the basis of caste. This will help, because within our country we are having two kind of people, one poor and the other one is rich. No other caste, no other religion. If we'll follow this perspective, then definitely we'll be able to unite the country. We'll be able to make this country to run on the path of development. We'll be able to run this country on the on development path. And moreover, the workforce the positive workforce of our country will not migrate to foreign countries for as a labor or as a labor.
Good
so
point there, Shivam. Hold your thoughts there, Shivam. You are making a valid point. Sandeep Bamzai, I am coming to you, because Shivam Pathak is now taking the debate in two directions. The political response I will seek briefly from the political party representatives, but the larger question that I want to ask you, Sandeep Bamzai, today is, and by the way, before you answer that question, let me also use this opportunity to extend you congratulations for taking over the India Abroad News Service, a premier wire service, reporting service in this country. You've just taken over. Best of luck for that tenure for you, Sandeep. But the question here is, a young man, Youth for Equality, is blaming politicians for reducing opportunity and creating a caste-based entitlement system rather than a society that is casteless. What would you say?
But that goes back to Mandal and the Mandalization of politics. So that being said, I think what is at the kernel here are three issues. One, will it pass judicial scrutiny once the president gives his assent? If you go back in time, you will find that constitutional amendments are rarely stayed. In recent memory, I can only think of the NGAC, National Judicial Appointments Commission, which was stayed by the Supreme Court. So legal challenges notwithstanding, I don't see the Supreme Court staying this. Now, what is more important is, if you go back to the Constitution, because this is a constitutional amendment, Article 15 of the Constitution allows the state to decide on what is an economically weaker section, and this, the Constitution, Article 15 says very clearly, can be notified by the state at all times depending on economic indicators of disadvantage and family income. So you are also challenging the Constitution. Let's understand this. What you can argue on the whys and wherefores of what the BJP is trying to do as the party in power, that the defeat in Madhya Pradesh, particularly one of the reasons being ascribed to that defeat is reservation which the upper caste wanted. But if you were to look at the judiciary and the constitution, then these are two tenets which one cannot argue with. One, which is that in recent memory, constitutional amendments have not found favor in terms of being stayed. And two, Article 15 actually allows the state to do this from time to time. Now we come to whether this is a morally corrosive issue. It became morally corrosive from the day that Mandal happened, from the day that mandalization of politics happened in this country. So one can argue that if X, Y, Z are being given reservation, then why not the upper caste as well? The challenge, as we now know from these people, once the presidential assent comes in, will be to test whether I think it is the courts or themselves which have said that reservation cannot exceed 50%, and in this case it is 60%, but Mr. Kashyap clarified on that issue as well, because on the floor of the House this was discussed and debated. So in terms of a legal challenge, I don't see anything happen. You saw how all political parties unilaterally supported this because it benefits all political parties. The vote bank for every single political party is strengthened with every such political move. That this has been done with an ulterior political motive, there are no two questions. The timing is suspect, but it's been done. Both houses of parliament have okayed it. The bill has gone to the president. Now we await his assent.
Absolutely. Before I go to Vivek Avasthi on how political reactions are panning out in some of the battleground Hindi heartland states, because that is one of the key reactions to watch for, let me take this debate to the two political representatives, Dr. Dasoju and Niti Jain. I'm going to start with the Congress, if I am permitted. When we saw the speech before the Rajya Sabha debate in the Lok Sabha and during the Rajya Sabha debate, there were times when I felt that there was no distinction between the Congress and BJP when it comes to reservation. There was, of course, attempts by the Congress leaders to seek a select panel, to seek a referral, to somehow delay this, but they seem to be half-hearted attempts at trying to win some brownie points. How is it that the Congress is on the same page as the BJP when it comes to reservations, sir?
I think you already have made a preconceived conclusion that, we made a half-hearted effort, which I think is incorrect, because I don't know, the entire discussion today that has happened is, one is whether reservations are necessary in this country or not. The second context is that we are talking about EBC reservations that are being implemented by the Modi's government or BJP government. I think a lot of things have been put in one basket and then we're trying to discuss. But then the specific question that you asked me, let me answer that Congress already had a view that economically backward people should also be given equal opportunity in this country. And in the year 1991 or 92, after the Mandal Commission recommendations, the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao ji has actually made an attempt to implement reservations through a memo, government memo to the economically backward sections. But however, subsequently in Indira Sahani case, the Supreme Court has struck down that, and then later on Congress never had a two-third majority to bring in the constitutional amendment, and so therefore it was not taken up by. And yesterday, yes, you might have seen our concerns and observations, because there could have been a little more discussion on why only 10%, why not less or why not more. Two, there are also a serious concern among the women that they should be given reservation, appropriate reservation to enter into the legislative bodies. And the backward classes are also asking that, we are almost about 50% of the population in this country, but we are being deprived of not getting the appropriate reservation. So, and there is a section that is saying that reservation we should all get away. So there could have been a very democratic dialogue in the parliament, a discussion in the parliament before that bill was brought in too. But I think in their hurry, Bharatiya Janata Party government to allure the voters of economically backward classes, particularly after Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan and the other state elections defeat. I think they wanted to create a vote bank, and then probably they brought in. But then Congress per se believes in that those who are deprived of equal amount of opportunities because of their economic poverty or economic backwardness should be given reservations or right. Let me complete, sir. Let me complete. So therefore, we supported. So therefore, it's not that we made a half-hearted attempt. We supported, but we questioned where things went wrong.
Could I ask you one question,
Please.
Your people, your MPs in the Rajya Sabha, they were talking of a JPC. They were saying it should be sent to a select committee, and then we should, come out with it. So what happened in the end? Why didn't you vote against it? What was your political compulsion?
I think I made an answer to you
No,
that
once you talk of a JPC, why didn't you stick to your stand for
the
it?
party stand is very clear that we have to support. That's a one-liner. As an official spokesperson of the Congress party, individuals would have spoken, different views in the parliament while the debate went on. But then party has a unilateral decision to support it. But then at the same time, the beneath the bill introduction, the motives of the BJP have to be exposed, number one. Number two is that there are concerns among the backward classes, there are concerns among the women about certain reservation that was needed. Those things have been issued. Third is that there are no jobs right now. 24 lakh government jobs are not filled in the last 4.5 years. And then 2 crore jobs promise made by Mr. Narendra Modi in the last 5 years has not been implemented. And because of the GST, because of the demonetization, crores of jobs have been lost. When everything is over, just about 1 month time, your model code of conduct is beginning. Then you're talking about creating employment and then trying to present a rosy picture that you are a messiah of the unemployed. But that's where we question that why now? Why not? But it not happened before.
But don't you think that by 2 master strokes, one in Lok Sabha and one Rajya Sabha, BJP has already stolen thunder from you?
No, I don't think so. People are very smart enough.
Okay.
Don't you think they don't understand that why it's not well, I mean, end of the day, when you bring in a measure to develop somebody, that has to result into some kind of a positive impact, right? Okay. Who are the youth that are likely to get the jobs who belong to the EBC now? How is that he's going to fill 24 lakh of jobs that are vacant in this government?
Mr. Bamzai, would you like to react on this?
No, if you have to quibble on this issue, because Article 15 actually allows the state to notify this, dependent on two things, which is essentially family income and economic indicators which show disadvantage, and the states are then allowed to do as they please. What can be challenged here is the sum of 8 lakh rupees.
Yes.
Okay. If you look at the Indian middle class or the hyped Indian middle class, then somebody who makes 8 lakh rupees per annum is part of that hyped middle class. Now, if you're going to give reservation through jobs or education to people who are already earning 8 lakh rupees per annum, you can ask questions. Because let's not look at the big megalopolises, let's look at smaller urban agglomerates, where 8 lakh rupees per annum, which means about 65,000 rupees per month, is a sizable income. Even in cities like Delhi and Mumbai, there are people who are earning a lot less. And let's also remember that the BPL, the famed BPL, is hardly, I think it was 22 rupees once, and now I think it is 32 rupees. So if a person below the poverty line is not able to survive and actually remain alive at that price, then what is 8 lakh rupees? Now the question is this the right threshold? Should one have granularly examined this, gone into a deeper concentric circle and looked at what this figure should be, or even the other criteria?
So this has been done in haste.
Well, it appears to have been done in haste because not enough, I don't think enough thought process has gone into this. Okay. Because look at the 8 lakh category criteria. Look at the
BPL, 5 acre
house criteria. If you own 5 acres of land in India, where we know that it is completely fragmented, and that is the single biggest problem that Indian agriculture suffers from. Then 5 acres of land is I mean, it's a huge amount of land. So some of these criteria are questionable, but I don't see the judiciary cracking down on this. I don't see the judiciary staying this because of the reasons that
good point there.
One
Good point
question
there.
to Dr. Kashyap.
Let me head across to Niti Jain, the spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, who has been very patiently listening into all the observations and the criticisms. Niti Jain, I know there are several things that you would like to respond to. I will just summarize it for you for you to answer them point wise. A hastily drafted bill, purely political, not thought through. The income criteria quite surprising in the views in the eyes of the public, and where are the jobs? So many questions raised of the BJP. Niti Jain, please go ahead and answer.
I'd like to thank you for getting me into the debate after half an hour of criticism, and I hope you'll give me sufficient time to answer to all of these questions, right? So first of all, since 3 people at least have mentioned that this bill was a result of the defeat in the 3 states, let me mention it to you. One, that we have won more than 27 elections before this, right? And also it was the Congress manifesto that had mentioned this. So was the Congress manifesto because you were so worried about your defeat, and that is why you mentioned this in your manifesto? Secondly, the petitioner who's appealed this PIL, one, I agree that the judicial review is only possible once the bill becomes an act. But secondly, you are saying constantly that you are against the no caste reservation, which is exactly what this bill has done. This has gone beyond the caste system. This has gone beyond the casteism that was following the current reservation system, and it is giving 10% of reservation to economically backward, and which is what you are saying also, that you want reservation based on economy, and which is exactly what this bill is doing. So I really don't understand the contention here, right? Third point, the Congress person had mentioned about the jobs. So let me tell you that the entire foul cry that you're playing about the jobs, the government jobs formed roughly about 3% of the GDP, right? The private jobs form about 5%. The unorganized sector forms about 52% of the GDP. Yesterday, the World Bank has come out and said that they're very hopeful about the Indian economy growing at about 7.3%. The startups in this country, we are second in terms of startups that have gone in this country, right? So I hope you understand that the 7.3% growth trajectory cannot happen without jobs. We cannot grow if the people are not working, right? So what you are talking about is the 3% government jobs, which also we don't understand, because the roads are being constructed, the toilets are being built, the railways is multiplying by many-fold. So the employment is there, but even if 1%, if I agree with what you're saying,
right,
I hope you know that economically speaking, the government jobs become expenditure in the GDP. As soon as the government starts hiring, it becomes an expenditure in the GDP.
Sure.
And if you talk about the investment and consumption, that becomes a part of the private sector, which only happens, which only reflects in the GDP if there's actual purchase happening. So if what you are saying is right and the GDP is still increasing, which means there's actually progress happening in this country. So stop crying about the jobs and the price rise and all of those things, because the numbers in your era were worse than what you are saying today.
Niti ji, not to interrupt you, but to also get an answer from a question that was raised earlier on in the panel, which you must have heard. Why rope in unaided institutions into the ambit of this extended reservation clause? I want that answer from you before I go across to the Congress spokesperson and then take a couple of major legal questions.
See, there are a lot of other issues as well, as in why 10%, why 8 lakhs and all of those things. I'll come to that as well. So one, when you say 8 lakh, it is not personal income, it is the gross family income, The gross family income needs to be 8 lakhs, and even then the state has the power to alternate or to kind of change that. If the state feels that we want to do it at 5 lakh, they're free to do that. The institutions and the government jobs that have been included in this is to give a fair chance to the economically backward to be part of that.
Okay. Okay. All right, Niti, please stay with us, because that point that you have clarified is important, that this
economically weaker section, not backward.
Economically weaker. Sir, Mr. Chaudhary, I'll just come to you. Just allow me a minute, please, sir. Allow me a minute, please, sir. I will come to you in a minute. I want to go to the Congress spokesperson, and this is not a question about your party alone, but a broader point that what we witnessed in the Rajya Sabha debate. You would recall that one Rajya Sabha MP had proposed an amendment to extend this to the private sector. You would also recall, Dr. Dasoju, that the UPA government had toyed with the idea of a quota in the private sector when it came to jobs, and then the cold feet got developed and it was dropped. Why did the elders of the house, those who represent wisdom and seniority, the elders of the Rajya Sabha, not support this clause to extend it to the private sector, sir? Why shouldn't the youth of the country feel that what politicians say outside and what they do inside the house are two completely different things?
Before I answer your specific question that you raised now, let me reflect on my colleague in the panel from BJP said that if the government jobs are filled, it will be a burden or it will be an expenditure to the government and it will affect the GDP.
No,
my
that is
friend
not
should
what
probably
I said.
understand that to provide the jobs is the fundamental responsibility. Let me complete.
Let me complete. What you're saying.
The responsibility.
Please
hold on.
I did not say that
please
it's
hold
a
on.
burden.
Then you
I
can
just
respond.
said it
Please
is
hold on. Please hold on.
speaking.
What I've heard. Let me
Economically
answer.
speaking.
Please
So,
hold on.
No, don't.
You said that to fill the jobs would cause
Don't
financial
twist what I
burden on
have
the
said.
government and thereby the GDP will get
Don't
affected.
twist what
And I
have
want
said.
the
I
Bharatiya
have just
Janata
said
Party,
that
are you doing any
economically
business in this
speaking.
country or are you have a fundamental responsibility to
Sir,
provide the employment?
all I'm saying
Number one.
is
Number two, let me.
speaking, if
One
you
second,
say
listen
there
to me,
are
ma'am.
no
I heard
jobs
you so much.
and the
Why don't you
country
listen?
is
Have
still
some
growing
patience.
at 7.3%.
Have some patience, please. Please
So
listen.
you are twisting what I'm saying,
Have
and
some
I will not
patience,
let
please
you do
listen.
that. You are twisting what I'm saying, sir,
No,
and
no,
I will not let you do
said
that.
it. If you want to correct it, I
I
welcome you to
also
do
said that the roads
If
are
you want
being
to
built,
correct
the
it, I
toilets are
welcome you
being
to do
constructed,
that.
there are
If
enough
you want
jobs
to
in the
correct it, I
country.
welcome you to do that. But
There
you
are
did say
enough
that.
jobs in the
That's a
country.
business
I also
mindset of the
said that.
Bharatiya
So
Janata
don't
Party.
twist what I have said.
आप व्यापारी के सोच से करते हैं आप पूरा धंधा. आप व्यापारी का आप गुजरात का धंधागिरी
Sir,
ऐसा
आप
करते
क्या
हैं
कर रहे हैं?
आप सियासत भी
So
तो इसलिए आप
you
ऐसी
are
बात
saying
किए हैं.
something in the
Then if you want to
parliament.
twist it,
You're
I leave
saying
it to you.
something outside. Sir, I don't want to get personal on this. All
अरे
I'm
मैं तो
saying is
खत्म तो
don't
करने
twist
दो
what I
यार.
have said.
खत्म तो
All
करने
I
दो यार.
said was, I also said there are roads being constructed. There is no dearth of the jobs. But even if what you say does not make sense economically, and that is your intellectual bankruptcy that I'm talking about.
I guess if there is no dearth of employment, then I think there is nothing to say.
Let me take a question to Dr. Kashyap. Dr. Kashyap, many states in India are already giving more than 50% reservation, and we understand that many of these matters are already sub judice before the Supreme Court. And as per our understanding, which I could also stand to be corrected, there has been no stay granted on any of these. What does this really mean, sir?
Well, it is true that some of these states have more than 10%. Tamil Nadu itself has 69%. Karnataka has more. Maharashtra has more. Several states have more than. Some of these provisions have been put in the 9th schedule of the Constitution, which provides that they will not be questioned in court of law. Of course, the Supreme Court has said that even matters included in the ninth schedule can be brought to the notice of the Supreme Court, and they have, under their power of judicial review, they can examine it whether there is any violation of the basic features of the Constitution. But that apart, it is a fact that some of these states have more than 50%. What has been, as I said earlier, what has been clarified by the government spokesman in the House is that it will be in addition to the existing reservations for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and backward classes. So it will not affect the existing reservations. As for more than 50%, there is no constitutional provision saying that it cannot be more than 50%. What is being cited is a judgment of the Supreme Court in the Rasani case and others, that it should not be normally more than 50%. But the Supreme Court itself has admitted that there may be situations where a special case can be made out, and that can be considered over and above 50%. So even according to the Supreme Court judgments, it is possible to exceed 50%. And in any case, the Supreme Court's earlier observations were based on the Constitution as it then existed. If the Constitution itself is amended, then the only thing that the Supreme Court can consider whether that amendment amounts to violating the basic feature of the Constitution.
That's a very, very important clarification, Dr. Kashyap, and thank you very much for clarifying that. Viewers, I hope we were listening carefully to Dr. Kashyap's observation. I want to take that observation and comment of Dr. Kashyap to Anup Chaudhary. I want your comment about what Dr. Kashyap said, because from his comments I get the sense that now whenever the act becomes reality, post-presidential assent and notification, then the question that the Supreme Court can dwell upon is not to question the will of Parliament, but to see whether it alters the basic features of the Constitution. Do you agree with this assessment?
Yeah, absolutely correct. And Indira Shahani's judgment itself envisages that there could be, in special circumstances, reservation can exceed 50%, but the rider is that there has to be a study, and there has to be a report, and there has to be an assessment that indeed the percentage of OBC or others are such that it requires percentage of reservation which could exceed 50%. So that is nothing wrong in that. And as far as Dr. Kashyap says, in regard to the fact that once the Constitution itself is amended, then it has to be seen whether that amendment to the Constitution is against the basic structure. But also there is one I would like to put a rider, and Mr. Kashyap will agree with me, that even a constitutional amendment is amenable to Article 14 of the Constitution of India on arbitrariness. For example, if it can be shown that no thought process has gone into, no application of mind has gone into this amendment, although it is very serious debatable question whether to a constitutional amendment you can apply the principles of application of mind, that also is there. But here the implementation itself is so bizarre, you just can't implement. And another thing I would like to also, the young lady who was from the BJP, that economic backwardness is totally different from economic weakness of an economic. This is economically weaker section is covered, not backwardness. Backwardness is always social, that is a separate issue, and economic criteria is dependent on whether you are weaker or not. But like it is going to be horrendously difficult at many times how to implement this, because of course you are also excluding the really poor then. If your intention was to really benefit the really poor people, then 8 lakhs is too much, or even 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs are too much. That is very well known that people who are affluent, who are strong economically, always get a better chance of getting the benefit out of reservation or any such scheme than those who are economically weaker. So now, right from a person who is from earning about 1 lakh or 2 lakhs a year, which a majority of the people do in this country, and if you add 8 lakhs, that means effectively you are excluding those really needy people who are very, very economically weak, and you call persons up to 8 lakh economically weak and yet assess them to tax at 20%. So these are the
that's a good point, sir. That's a good point, sir. That's a good point. I will come back to you with another question. I want to go to Niti Jain to answer this question that you are raising, but before that, I want to allow Shivam Pathak, who wants to make a quick interjection. Go ahead, Shivam, before I go to the BJP spokesperson.
Yeah, for sure. Well, initially, Niti ma'am, I would like to thank BJP and you that you guys have actually started a new kind of reservation system. It's an economic system, economic-based reservation system within our country. So we are really thankful to you as well as my colleague from Congress party who have supported this issue in the parliament. And sir, I would like to say that don't be confused like your leadership in the parliament. I mean over here, as you said, like either to support reservation or not. Definitely you have to support. You have. Let me complete. Let me complete. Let me complete, sir. Let me complete. Let me complete. Fairly means this is what I mean to speak like. Definitely you need to support reservation system, but it should be supported on the basis of economic basis. And one more point which one of our panelists have included within the debate is that the economic weakness. I believe economic weakness depends on the number of family members we are having within an individual family. As if there are 5 or 6 lakh, if a person is earning 5 to 6 lakhs, definitely he's he's weaker according to economic conditions. But as if someone is earning 5 lakh or 6 lakh and he's having 3 or 4% within his family, definitely he can manage all these all sort of things which he has to do within his personal life. Well, Niti ma'am, we don't have problem with 10% economic reservation. We do have the problem with the seal 50% limit which you have broken at this point of time. And what Dr. Kashyap sir have said over here that many of our states are having a reservation more than, let me complete ma'am, 50%. So Rajasthan is 68%, Tamil Nadu is 69% and Maharashtra is 68%. If we'll include this 10% reservation within these 3 states, it will be around 80% in all 3 states. Where the general category will go ma'am, where the general category will go. You guys are cutting, where the hell will merit will go within our country.
Taken. Let her respond. Let her respond. Let her respond. Let Niti Jain respond to the question. Where does the general category person of India go? आखिरकार वो भी तो हिंदुस्तानी है, वो भी इसी देश और मिट्टी का जन्मा हुआ है, उसका क्या नीति जी?
देखिए पहली बात ये कि ये जो 10% reservation है ये general category के लिए ही है. Secondly, you're contradicting yourself again. If there is a cap of 8 lakh gross family income, it is a very wide kind of a scope for the people that can be included. Secondly, the states have been given an autonomy in this because an 8 lakh gross family income in Bombay is going to be different from a state like say UP or Bihar, right? So that is why the states have an autonomy on that as well. Thirdly, when you talk about the 50% OBC reservations, they stand where they are right now, but let's just say that this 10% reservation is a beginning of the new awakening probably, right? And the general category is what we are talking about in this. I still don't understand the contradiction. If you want it for the general category, which is what we are reserving this 10% for.
Okay, Dr. Kashyap, I want to come to you on one particular point, sir, because you explained the basic point and you said The challenge in the court and its application of mind to this law could be on the issue of basic structure of constitution. Is there a possibility that the SC may also pay attention to the criteria used in this law and perhaps apply its mind to how those criteria have been directed and what the states may do in this regard?
Well, I think we are extending the scope of the discussion and going beyond the petition and going on the merits of reservation. Now, so far as merits of reservation are concerned, I, as a citizen, not as a student of the constitution and law, as a citizen, I entirely agree with Shivam Pathak that reservations per se have to be examined. And you can also view it from that angle that it is the beginning of taking economic consideration in view and doing reservations on that basis. Tomorrow, it is quite likely that there will be demand presented in legal and constitutional terms to say that why should economic criteria be only for the so-called general category? Why should it not apply to scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, backward classes also? And so, if it is seen as a beginning of giving more importance to the economic criteria, then it should be welcomed. It will strengthen the case of Shivam Pathak to go in for wholesale reservation only on economic basis. One thing more I would like to submit, that we should separate the politics of reservation from the principle and policy of reservation, which is not being done. As for the principle, it is quite rightly pointed out that in the Constituent Assembly debates, and I belong to a generation of people who had occasion to talk to and sit with Dr. Ambedkar and other constitution makers. It is true that Dr. Ambedkar himself, in very strong words, had opposed reservation in perpetuity. He has said, I do not want this stigma of backwardness, Dalit, to remain permanently on Indian society. Our effort should be to build a classless and casteless society. And therefore, while 10 years may be too short a period, it should be for, once privately he said, it should be for 40 years, 10 years is too short. But he added, thereafter, the parliament should not have any power to extend it by law. He was very clear. Reservations, yes, but for a limited period.
Reservations, yes, but
Assembly, reservations for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes. Just 1 second more. Reservations were accepted in the Constituent Assembly, if you look at the debates, on two conditions. Number one, that they will not be extended to any other group other than scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Not to be extended to any other group, and second, that they will be for a limited period and not in perpetuity.
Siddharth, if I can just come in for a minute here.
sure, go ahead, Sandeep.
No, I was saying we are talking about an 8 lakh threshold. If you look at the below poverty line description in this country, and I will read it out for you, the income limit for households for qualifying as a beneficiary under the BPL below poverty line list has been pegged at about rupees 27,000 per annum.
That's right.
So you do your math, you divide that by 365, and you'll get your number. Now in a country where a per day income is 32 rupees and a per annum income for BPL, and remember poverty is the norm in this country. There are more poor and underprivileged and downtrodden than probably anywhere else in the world, given the size of our population, given that we are still an agrarian economy. and we seem to be ignoring all these issues and looking at an 8 lakh rupee 5-acre threshold for this upper caste reservation. And then I also want to make a limited point. You said that if this was to be extended to the private sector, and if you go back in time, Meera Kumar as Social Justice Minister in the first UPA tenure was very aggressively mooting this idea, but it did not work out. But Devendra Fadnavis in Maharashtra actually went ahead and did this last year, and it was a complete unmitigated disaster. So where, under the theory of elasticity, where does this end? And as Dr. Kashyap rightly said, that if the architect of your constitution has said that this cannot be in perpetuity, and yet we are testing new limits, mandalization in any case led to grievous harm as far as society,
Right.
caste, class is concerned. And now you have a situation where you are pushing the envelope as far as reservation for the upper caste with strange thresholds is concerned.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know,
Again, I think you're mistaken. This is
Where is-
not for the
and where is
upper
merit
caste.
in all
This is
this?
for the economically
Where
weaker.
is merit in all this?
Yeah, that I agree. It's not for the upper caste. Also,
No, so I
Where is
agree.
merit in all this?
Ideally speaking,
We have a
ideally
situation
speaking,
now
it should be
where
on
merit is
merit.
being
But till the
sacrificed
time we
with every
arrive
such
there,
political
I
action.
think this is
In
a
a life
move
of a nation.
away from the caste system.
that I don't agree.
well, very clearly, there are so many more points, my viewers and all my guests and fellow panelists, and this discussion can continue unabated. And very clearly, there will be occasion to debate this more and more, because there are multiple issues involved in this entire situation. But I want to take one final comment from my colleague Vivek Avasthi. Vivek, Dr. Kashyap spoke about the need to separate politics from the principles and policy of reservation. But politics is a reality, Vivek, and we are on our flagship Rajniti show, Vivek. So I want to ask you one final quick comment, if you could make, in terms of the political fallout 24 hours after the Rajya Sabha also passed this law very, very quickly. Where are we headed as far as the politics and the impact of this move is concerned?
Actually, लगता है कि हड़बड़ी में गड़बड़ी तो नहीं हो गई. Now the upper caste stands divided into two parts: the upper caste and the lower upper caste. A candidate from the now lower upper caste, in this case, if one once competes in one exam from the 10% category, he would be out of the 40% race. Last point, what I would like to say, that this has given more jitters, to the backward classes, who think that now their competition area has been increased by 10%. So BJP could be losing this gamble from both the sides, backwards and forwards. And as far as the line of day goes, चौकीदार के चाणक्य अब बाजीगर और जादूगर बन गए हैं. उनके पिटारे से तुरुप का इक्का निकला है. देखना है आने वाले चुनाव में चलता है या फिर पिट जाता है.
Well, that's a good way to end it, and we'll have to keep a watch out for this debate. I know the
I think
BJP
that's
and the
very
Congress would
unfair.
also. Okay, Niti, go ahead. Niti, quickly, 30 seconds, please respond. 30 seconds, ma'am.
So I think the Congress fails to look at anything beyond politics, and this bill is genuinely for the people who are economically weaker from the general category, who have been pining to get the similar opportunities as the others. They were missing out on a lot of things, and they have an equal opportunity on different jobs and education systems. And I think it's a requirement for you to look beyond politics. This is what you wanted to do. This is what you're debating today. But yesterday, all of your party leaders have voted for it. So I think inside of your own party, you need to decide if you're for it or against it before you come to the media houses to call out. I don't know what you're calling out also right now.
Okay, the Congress spokesperson, one last comment from you, sir.
Give me a chance. You have to give me a chance. 1 minute, you've got to give me a chance. Otherwise, it will be unfair to conclude this discussion.
Please, carry on.
I wanted to remind my colleague panelists and all of you also, in the year 2013, on July 22nd, please Google it, Mr. Narendra Modi, in an interview says that are the reservations necessary in this country? That was the question posed to him. He answers that people are asking for better quality of education. If it is provided, there is no need for reservation. And the other question, followed question was, people are asking for reservations. They said if you provide better employment, there is no need for reservations. This is what he said in the year 2013. By the time
IITs
2018
and IIMs
comes,
have been
after
opened
4
in
years,
the last
8
5
months of his
years.
rule, can you please listen? This tu mai nahi chalega.
Do you know
He
how
realized
many
that he's
IITs,
incompetent to
IIMs,
provide the
schools
quality
and colleges
education
have opened
and
in the last
quality
5
employment.
years?
Thereby, he resorted to
So
allure
you're
the voters
failing
with
to
10%
understand. Like I
reservation.
said, you
Please
will
accept
never
that's a
grow
fact.
beyond
Please
politics.
Google,
You're not
listen to your
understanding
leader,
the reason
and then
of this
come to the
bill
studio and then
and
talk.
the
You're
amendment.
making ruthless allegations on the Congress party, which has supported your bill without a consultation,
So coming
without
from
a
you,
proper
it doesn't make
sharing of
sense.
the,
I think
draft
you
bill with
are-
the people.
you are not-
You still supported in 2 days. You brought in a bill and got the endorsement of the Congress party. You have no gratitude and no
Which you
thanks to the party that
supported.
supported you. You started making
Which
allegations,
you
which means
supported.
you have a clear-cut fear in your mind that you're going
So
to
you
lose.
supported the
Nothing
bill.
As I think he concluded.
Well,
"Sunuwai to ho
I think
jayega,
coming
Niti
across
Jain,
as a very confused
Niti Jain, if you allow me to intervene, Niti Jain, the Congress has a certain strength in the Rajya Sabha. Only 7 abstentions happened. Of the 65 or 68, if memory serves me right, that the Congress has, very clearly a significant number of votes have fallen in favor of that bill. But let's end this debate here. We can separately debate the politics of it between the Congress and the BJP. But for now, I will request all my panelists, including the Congress and BJP spokespersons, to let me allow to end and wrap this debate up here, because we are completely out of time. The Rajniti of reservation is a subject that will not go away. If the law was approved in almost 16 to 18 hours of debate, I know for the country it will take many months, years, if not centuries, to overcome this entire issue of whether we should create a classless society or a society that only is based on caste. I take no stand on this issue. I leave it to the viewer who have just heard an eminent panel of experts on this entire matter. We'll keep coming back with more on this subject. For now, it's a wrap on this edition of Rajniti. News and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
There's a new day coming, a day when our lives become sustainable and dynamic. At Toshiba, we're driven by passion to create energy, to build social infrastructure, to make intelligent electronic devices and storage, and to create digital solutions, so we can all enjoy this new day sooner. Toshiba, for a new day.
From the depths of the earth to the bottom of hearts, NMDC has touched lives all around. Creating wealth, building sustainable opportunities, and working towards impacting lives positively. NMDC, harnessing Earth's goodness.
It's a call you don't want to miss. The stock you want to trade. What does the chart hold for you? Today's bets. Weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Only on Business Television India.
अरे राजेश भाई, दीपक बहुत दिनों बाद दिख रहे हो तुम। और बताओ। बस मेरी बेटी का कल जन्मदिन है और आपको आना होगा। हाँ हाँ क्यों नहीं भाई, नेकी और पूछ पूछ। और सूरज भाई आपको तो निमंत्रण मिल ही चुका है। चलो चलता हूँ।
अरे राजेश भैया, आप उससे हाथ क्यों मिला रहे थे? उसे पिछले महीने से टीबी है।
2 हफ्ते तक लगातार दवा खाओ ना तो टीबी फैलने का खतरा तो बिल्कुल ही खत्म हो जाता है। और रही बात हाथ मिलाने की, गले मिलने की, शौचालय इस्तेमाल करने की, बर्तन खाना बांटने की, उससे टीबी नहीं फैलता।
टीबी हारेगा, देश जीतेगा।
What do you find when you dig deep into the depths of the earth? We found a few rare elements like commitment, compassion, a passion for perfection, and a vision for a stronger and better tomorrow. That is NMDC. It's not just a pioneering story of one of the world's finest iron ore producers, but a story of leadership with a human touch.
मुझे भी स्कूल जाना है, मुझे भी पढ़ना है। तू स्कूल जाएगी तो घर का काम कब सीखेगी? मुझे भी स्कूल जाना है।
लड़कियां स्कूल नहीं जाती।
नाम बताओ। बेटा, अपना नाम बताओ।
नाम बता अपना।
मेरा नाम कुसुम कुमारी है। मेरी उम्र 7 साल है। मेरे बापू ने मुझे स्कूल नहीं भेजा, नहीं तो मैं भी दूसरी कक्षा में होती। मैं भी अपने भैया के साथ पढ़ना चाहती हूँ। आप जैसा बनना चाहती हो? मेरे पापा को बोलो ना। बेटी बचाओ, बेटी पढ़ाओ।
You're watching Business Television India.
Good evening. Welcome to the newsroom here at Business Television India. I'm Vikram Boza. Let's take a look at the top stories we are tracking tonight. 48 hours after the Supreme Court reinstated Alok Verma as the CBI director, the Prime Minister-led selection panel has removed him from that post. M. Nageshwar Rao is taking over his duties until a new CBI director is appointed. The crucial Ayodhya case hearing has been adjourned to the 29th of January now after Justice Lalit has recused himself from that case because he has represented former UP Chief Minister Kalyan Singh in the criminal case of 1994. A petition has been filed by the Youth for Equality NGO in the Supreme Court, challenging the Quota bill that promises 10% reservation to economically weaker sections in the general category. The NCW, National Commission for Women, has sent out a notice to Rahul Gandhi for his what they call misogynistic, offensive remarks against the Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. India's leading IT bellwether, Tata Consultancy Services (TCS), has reported a lower than expected 24% rise in their profit because of the slowdown in IT spending, weaker rupee also impacting their revenues.